The new balance patch notes for season 3 just dropped, and there's a ton of changes, including new team-ups, changes to DPS tanks and supports, and massive meta implications going forward. So we're gonna break it all down and tell you exactly what this means for you in season 3. But I just hit partner on Twitch, and I'm so freaking excited. Check out my Twitch in the links down below. And for 30 days of free coaching, we still offer it at the Marvel Rivals Academy. You can check that out as well. All of it will be in the description, but let's jump into the video. Now first, it's the Vanguards, and this is what they're doing to Emma Frost. They said, quote, "Looks like the White Queen is trading a bit of offense for more glam. Her damage and her survivability in diamond form are taking a slight hit. Reduce the telepath pulse damage at 99 energy from 120 per second to 110 per second, and 150 per second to 140 per second at 100 energy. In addition to that, they're reducing the damage reduction on her diamond form from 30% to 25%, making her less survivable when she's in that state. But they're also reducing the energy cost of her ultimate from 3,700 to 3,400. So what does this all mean? Her damage is lowered, and they're making her ultimate cheaper so that her ultimate isn't harder to get, much harder to get. It's gonna be about the same because it's gonna be cheaper. So basically just less overall damage with her primary and then less survivability with her diamond form. A lot of people might think that this is heavy-handed on Emma, but I do think that Emma was one of the strongest characters in the game. She definitely had some of the highest impact overall, and in some ways she held back other tanks from seeing play, notably dive tanks like Cap and Venom, and even bullied up on tanks like the Thing. So I do think that she's gonna be good, but this will be a notable nerf to the character that brings her more in line with many of the other tanks. Now the next tank is the Thing, and they said this, quote, "We're not afraid to say it, it's clobbering time. Now with smoother moves and more utility, time for more pain with your brothers and sisters in arms." So they gave him a new ability called Battle Blitz. The Thing leaps towards enemies, gaining 25% damage reduction. Leaping targeting distance to enemies is 20 meters, and then if you hit them with the Stone Haymaker, it's gonna knock down flying enemies. Now something that's cool about this knockdown effect is that that's just a Stone Haymaker flat effect. So if they're like, you know, oftentimes when flyers are just slightly above you, you can actually hit them with your Stone Haymaker because that's such a big hitbox. You can constantly ground them, and then being able to jump to them and hit them. I think this is a really, really big deal for the Thing. I think that this makes the Thing really interesting, really strong in some situations. And I do know that the Thing was weaker in 2.5 than he's been in a long time. As someone who's played a lot of the Thing, I think this is exactly the type of thing that he really needs. So I'm really excited to see how this plays all around, and yeah, it's really, really interesting. We're gonna see, but this in conjunction with a lot of the flyer nerfs and things like that, I think that the Thing is looking better in season 3 than he's been in a long time. Now last up is Venom, and they did this small change. Venom got a stickier grip. His control after diving is now slightly more terrifying. Increase the cellular corrosion enemy slow effect from 15% to 25%. This is his alternate fire that grabs onto enemies after he dives on top of them, and slowing them by an extra 10% is a really big deal in my opinion. We combine this with the new team up that he's giving to Hela, and I think that Venom is gonna be really interesting in season 3, and I really do like this buff for the character. I think the Thing plus Magneto getting bubbled in very, very strong. Notably, no Magneto nerfs or other tank nerfs in this patch. Only Emma Frost got hit with the nerf, so Magneto's still extremely strong. Magneto Venom's gonna be very, very good going forward. Now, there's quite a few changes to duelists. Let's first talk about Human Torch. They said this, quote, "Flame on, but mind the heat. Johnny's getting a team-up anchor effect, but a little less firepower to balance things out." They're reducing his fire cluster damage per projectile from 6 to 5.5, and they're reducing the Supernova Ultimate Activation shockwave damage from 80 to 75, and Fire Tornado's dot from 120 per second to 110 per second, but he's getting a team-up anchor bonus of 5% damage. What this ends up looking like is he's gonna do a little bit less damage with his primary and a little bit less damage with his ultimate, but his alternate and his slam is gonna do more damage. So I think it's gonna be about a wash for Human Torch, but he's getting a really new powerful synergy that we'll talk about in a little bit. So I think he's gonna be reasonable to play. He was reasonable in 2.5 with a new team up and about the same power level. He's gonna be good as well in 3. Now for Iron Man, he's getting nerfed. They said this, quote, "Tony's slightly powering down with reduced damage output and a longer wait for his ultimate." So they're reducing the first 2 repulsor blast hits from 40 to 35 and 50 to 40 while in armor overdrive. And then they're increasing the energy cost of his ultimate from 2,800 to 3,400. So this is a really big deal. I think that the damage of that, the repulsor blast, while that is less damage, it's only 5 less per blast, and it's only of the first 2 and not the third one. I think that that is like okay, like it's an okay deal. It's not a massive deal, but it is going to be something that is going to make it a little bit harder to get ultimate. And then his ultimate is substantially more expensive, and I think that this is a big deal for Iron Man, especially because you're never going to be able to outpace Magneto anymore. Sometimes you could actually outpace Magneto before and get an ultimate off before he could counter you. You were also sometimes able to keep pace with defensive ultimates that you might not be able to keep pace with anymore unless you're absolutely frying. So there's going to be some times where you're sitting at like 90% and they're popping that Lunar Snow ult and you're sad. Or, you know, before you would have been able to race that Magneto and just win the fight with it, you just can't do that anymore. So I think these are big deals to Iron Man that really make him a lot harder to get some of that more free ultimate value. But the character's still going to be good. He's still going to be strong. His beam damage is still going to be high. His survivability is still really high, which was really important about the character before. So I don't think that Iron Man's dead or anything like that, but this is definitely going to be a felt nerf for sure. Next up is Mr. Fantastic. They said this quote: "The stretchy genius gets slightly less tanky in his inflated state. Reduced inflated state bonus health from 400 to 350. And this was one of the things that I said when people asked me on stream about Mr. Fantastic getting nerfed. They said, wow, I can't believe they're nerfing his survivability. I can't believe they're nerfing it. And I said, wait for the numbers because it matters. Because this is not that big of a deal. 50 HP in his inflated state isn't going to make or break the character. It isn't going to move the character from one tier to another. It really isn't going to change much of anything at all. Nerfs to his cooldowns, massive nerfs to his survivability. These would all matter. And I think that it's important to understand that when he's in an inflated state, getting 350 bonus health, that's great. 400 bonus health, that's even better. But that's less of a big deal than going from like 300 health to 250 or 250 to 200. That's a really big deal. The lower in health you are, the more it matters, these chunks of HP. When you have these massive amounts of health, it doesn't matter as much. You know, taking a group from, you know, 800 to 750 doesn't really matter that much, right? So this is not going to make the character bad or worse. It's just gonna mean that you need to be slightly more careful about what you can survive when you're in that inflated state. This also includes your ultimate, so I would be a little careful, but overall you just have slightly tighter engagements and you'll be just fine. The next is Namor, and they said this quote: "The Submariner surges forward with smoother aim and slightly sharper tridents. Increased Trident of Neptune projectile damage from 70 to 75, and projectile speed from 120 meters per second to 150 meters per second." Now that's his primary, and that's crazy to go so much quicker. It means that he can poke far better and he's going to do more damage. And they're also increasing the Wrath of the Seven Seas projectile speed from 120 meters per second to 150 as well, so it matches the primary, and that's his alternate fire. So his primary and alternate is going to be easier to hit from range, just really easy to hit. It's going to be so much faster, and it does more damage as well. And this is crazy for like Namor, because I think Namor's already extremely good. And the only thing that I can kind of understand as to why they would do this is so that he can better combat the other pokers, because that's one of the things. Namor has taken a kind of big dip this season because against characters like Hawkeye, Hela, characters that are fighting from range, even characters like Punisher, he doesn't really engage particularly well, right? He can get forced off of angles, he can get shot, forced out, but with faster projectile speed and slightly more damage, he's going to be able to do that better. So I don't know if this is going to make Namor extremely good in those matchups, though. It's going to make him better, but it's going to make him even more busted in a lot of the good matchups he already was in. So yeah, Namor's going to be kind of a menace, especially with the whole team up in season 3. The next is Scarlet Witch, and they said this quote: "Wanda's ultimate just got a little more hextra. Reduced max slow rate during the reality erasure ultimate charge period from 35% to 25%, and increased damage from 750 to 850. Okay, damage doesn't matter at all, but the fact that they're increasing that movement speed, or they're reducing that movement delay, is gonna make this a little bit more deadly. You know, you're gonna be able to round the corner a little bit easier. You're gonna be able to catch people off a little bit easier. Turning this down to 0 would be completely busted. I think 25 is probably fine, but just expect a couple more Scarlet Witches to be able to slide in and around corners with their ultimate faster than you would expect this season, and And yeah, I think it's gonna be something that you gotta look out for. The next character is Spider-Man, and they said this quote, "Web Warriors rejoice. Spidey loses his team-up anchor bonus, but gains a new team-up ability and a bit more bite. So increase get over here kick damage when pulled to enemies from 50 to 55, increase spider power midair damage from 50 to 55, and increase amazing combo damage from 55 to 60. This is all mainly to offset the anchor bonus loss, and he's gonna be about the same, but he has that new team-up, which is gonna be insane with him, which we're gonna break down at the end. Next up is Winter Soldier, and they said Bucky's getting a little bit more dangerous from downtown. The rostern damage fall off maximum at 40 meters from 60% to 70%. So they're just doing slight buffs to Bucky. This is the primary fall off damage is going to be slightly reduced from those long distances. I think this is kind of to make it so that Bucky can fight from those ranges better against poke heroes. Remember, a season that's dominated by hella Hawkeye, they're just kind of dominating some of these mid-range DPS characters that are a little bit better from the closer ranges, like Bucky and like Namor. So that's really why we're seeing buffs here. Last up is Wolverine, and they said this: Logan's control frequency is taking a slight hit as he now needs more time to sharpen those claws between leaps. Increase the Pharaoh leap strike duration from 4 seconds to 5 seconds, and increase its cooldown from 12 seconds to 15 seconds. Now, I believe what it's referring to here is the actual Berserk Claw strike duration, which means that he's going to have Berserk Claw state for longer if he does grip you, but it is going to be a longer cooldown. I think 3-second nerf is going to be good. It's going to be reasonable, but Wolverine is going to still be able to cycle quite a bit throughout a game. I'm not going to lie, with these small changes and his new team up, I think Wolverine might end up being better in Season 3 than 2.5, which, as a Wolverine hater, a Wolverine active hater, I am a little salty about, but it's okay. We're tank striking. We're tank striking, baby. No, I'm just kidding. The last DPS I wanted to talk about is the Punisher, and they said this quote: Frank's turret is losing some sting, and his ultimate is gonna need some juice. Reduce culling turret projectile damage from 12 to 10, and decrease the spell field damage from 12 to 10, and then increase the energy cost of his ultimate from 3,400 to 3,700. Now, the changes to the turret honestly make sense, because what was happening is if you want to fight on Punisher, you could just set up your turret, and then when enemies came in, you got guaranteed ultimate charge and pressure just automatically. Basically made the opponents play this mini game to destroy the turret. With it being a little bit less powerful, it's going to be easier for everyone to interact with the turret. And then the ultimate becoming harder to get is actually really important, because combined with this change to the turret, he's going to have ult even less fast, and now Magnetos are going to be able to almost always match you. Like, oftentimes before, if you were really frying on Punisher, you could get your ult, that first ult, you could pop it before a Magneto even had ult to counter. That's no longer going to be the case, so trying to synergize with your other Magneto to protect you is going to be more important than ever. Punisher is still going to be extremely good because his primary fire was just unchanged. He's going to be very, very strong. But some of the ways that you played Punisher before, as far as getting your ultimate fast and tempo ulting early, you're not going to be able to do it anymore. The next up, we got to talk about the strategist. First off is Invisible Woman, and they said this quote: Sue's healing is a little more reliable. Now that's fantastic. Increase orb projection healing on launch from 40 to 45 and damage from 20 to 25. Reduce healing on return from 40 to 35 and damage from 20 to 15. So what you're actually doing is you're getting a little bit more healing and damage on the front end and not on the back end, but you didn't always get the return healing as much. So it's just going to be, like they said, a little bit more reliable. If you min-maxed it before, it's actually the exact same amount of healing, right? If you hit them on the in and the back, it's the exact same amount of healing, but there's so many situations, you're playing at a weird angle, you're moving, whatever, they're moving, that you didn't always get the return healing. So I think more reliable and consistent healing is going to be good for Invisible Woman overall, and she's going to feel a little bit more consistent to play as well. So I think this is actually a good change. Next up is Loki. Quote: The God of Mischief needs slightly more energy for his ultimate. Guess he's been up to too many tricks. They increased the cost of the ultimate from 4,000 to 4,300. this is actually quite sizable. He's gonna get it, you know, quite a bit slower than he did before. You know, before you would be at 100, now you're gonna be at like 91% or something along those lines. That could be a really big deal. So Lokis are gonna have to find ways to generate their ultimate faster, be more involved in the fight, healing more, damaging more if they want to keep up with the other support ults. I do think that Loki gets a bit more forgiven for having a longer to charge ultimate, because you can always just have the other support go first, right? You can have the Cloak and Dagger ult first, and then you get your ult second, or the Luna ult first. Then that gives you plenty of time to build up yours. In some situations, it's not going to work perfectly like that, but I do think that this is like a really minor nerf to Loki overall in the grand scheme of things. He's probably still going to be one of the best characters in the game, but it is another small nerf, and they've hit Loki with a couple of these, and eventually they're all going to add up. The next is Mantis. So, quote, Mantis healing touch grows and her ultimate is more potent, but its frequency is reduced. And it says this, quote, healing flower new effect heals allies by 2.5% a second, reduce base healing from 20 per second to 12.5 per second. So what this basically does is that her alternate healing is going to scale with HP. This really means that it's going to be able to heal tanks far better. I think that was one of the biggest things that Mantis struggled with, is that when you were trying to heal a freaking tank, a Groot that was just getting his ass beat, you couldn't heal him up, right? It was really, really hard to heal him up, and you had to use all your damn flowers, and you were just out of it all the time. And it made it really hard to play Mantis in brawl compositions and other things. And I don't know the perfect numbers on this. I am a college dropout, and I'm not going to do the math, so someone else could do the math for me. But what this seems like on paper is that it's going to make it so that you can play Mantis in a more variety of compositions and still have more than enough heals. Now, to offset this, though, they're making the energy cost of the ultimate from 3,700 to 4,300, and they're increasing the max bonus health from 100 to 150. So what that means is that the ultimate is going to be a bit better, but it's more expensive. But I think because of this change, this 2.5% change, it's going to be easier to build your ultimate now, because you're going to be healing Groots for giant chunks, and they didn't want to allow Mantis to just, like, you know, just heal a brawl composition, build up ultimate insanely quickly, and just go to town. So I'm really interested in seeing how this plays out. I'm really, really excited for Mantis. If Mantis can play in a variety of compositions, like her healing was always the problem, right, for the character. She has plenty of damage, plenty of utility, giving damage boost to so many different people, being able to pocket people from range, you know, give them tons of damage boost and heals over time. There's so much she could do, but she couldn't keep up with just the raw healing amount. So I think this might be the change that she needed. It depends on the numbers, though. Is 2.5% enough? We'll have to wait and see. Now, the last basic support change is from Ultron, and they said this, quote, Ultron's gonna have to update his software as his defenses are taking a slight hit, and he's a little less of a team player, which seems fine by him in this patch. Reduce dynamic flight acceleration effect time from 8 seconds to 6 seconds, and reduce imperative firewall bonus health to self from 75 to 65, and from allies from 55 to 50. So it's 10 less for himself and 5 less for his allies, which is just going to be a slight nerf all around. I think giving less bonus health to himself is more important, because he could actually get killed quite a bit easier now, especially when we combine that with that only 8 seconds of accelerated flight time instead of 6. So he's going to have a little bit less mobility. Still great mobility, by the way, but just a little bit less. And then a little bit less self bonus health that keeps him alive. So I think it's going to be easier to catch him out. Ultron's still going to be good, though, make no mistake. This doesn't reduce his damage or his ultimate charge time or a lot of factors about him, his passive heal amount. There's a lot of things that they didn't change about Ultron that they could have, and I think he's going to be just fine. This is really kind of like a minor nerf to him, but it is going to be something that's felt specifically, I think, when characters are going after him and trying to actively kill Ultron or trying to duel Ultron. Now, the moment you've been waiting for, the new team of abilities. These are the exciting ones. Let's talk about the two new ones first. So the ever-burning bond between Human Torch and Spider-Man. With great friendship comes great firepower. As the team-up anchor, Human Torch gains a 5% boost in damage output. Spider-Man unlocks the new Inferno Blast ability through his team-up with Torch. This new Inferno Blast ability is his Flaming Tracers, and it looks like he's going to be able to do some crazy combos with them. I know that some Spider-Man players are going to just develop some disgusting things with this, but it's a little bit hard for us to theory craft here. We got to wait to see when we get our hands on it, and to be honest with you, when I get my hands on it, I'm still not going to know what the hell's going on until like a Spider-Man main gets their hands on it and really knows what the hell they're doing. Next up is the Primal Flame between Phoenix and Wolverine. Now with the side of Cosmic Fire, As the team up anchor, Phoenix gains 10% boost in damage output. Wolverine gains the new Phoenix Warrior ability through his team up with Phoenix, which is going to allow him to put people on fire when he's dashing through them and around them. Wolverine's permabanned this season, and maybe Phoenix is too. Banned. I'm banning. They're banned. Okay, let's talk about adjusted or removed. So first off, the Spider-Man Squirrel Girl team up, that's getting removed. The Iron Man Ultron Squirrel Girl team up Stark Protocol, Squirrel Girl is gonna join this team up, and she's gonna get that new Squirrel Girl missile ability, which is gonna be a 20-second cooldown that is just gonna be able to auto lock on something. It doesn't do a crazy amount of damage, but you don't have to aim it at all. You're giving the low skill floor hero a no skill ability that allows her to hit flyers, so that's interesting. Storm Ignition, so the Storm Human Torch team up, that's getting removed. I said in my buff nerfs tier list video that I thought it was redundant with the Jeff Nato around. I think that's just better. This makes sense. And of course, Human Torch is now partnering with Spider-Man. And then the symbiote shenanigans, the Venom Jeff one is adding Hela, which is gonna give her tentacles where she can stun, and it's gonna get those slow tentacles with her stun, which is just absurd, bro. Like, just absurd. But it does make Hela Venom really interesting, really strong. I think like that stun plus his slam down, I could see some really disgusting combos with that. Then last up is balance changes to current team ups. First off with the Guardian Revival, which is the Adam, Warlock, Star-Lord, Mantis. So they said this quote, "We're slightly reducing the usage coverage of this team up as even the Guardians need to pace themselves, increase the Leader's Soul and Nature's Soul ability cooldown from 120 seconds to 135 seconds. Honestly, this is pretty small in the grand scheme of things, but it is indeed a nerf, and it means that there might be a need to be another fight to go through, to cycle through before you get this back, right? And then the symbiote shenanigans, the Venom Jeff, so they're slightly increasing the power on Jeff's end of his team up ability. Maximum Mayhem now with extra bite. Quote, increasing Guardians of the Deep maximum bonus health from 50 to 100, max tentacle ink period from 3 seconds to 5 seconds. I'm gonna be honest with you, I didn't use this team up a single time, and it seemed super unimpactful when I was up against it, and I think that a small buff here is reasonable. Maybe it will be powerful enough to make a dent, maybe it won't. You let me know in the comments down below. But anyways, this is the patch notes, and it's really beefy. How do you feel about season 3? How do you feel about all the changes? I think there's some characters that I'm really surprised didn't get any changes at all. Characters like Iron Fist didn't get any changes at all. Very, very surprised there. But was there any character that you think that they missed? Let me know in the comments down below. Smash the like, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. And remember, 30 days of free coaching. Links will be in the description. If you want to get to an all-time high in Season 3, check it out. 30 days free. And I'll see you next time.